The hacking group Anonymous is a loosely organized collective of individuals who engage in a range of activities, including cyber activism, digital protests, and hacks against organizations or individuals they perceive as engaging in unethical or illegal activities. The group is known for its use of Guy Fawkes masks, which have become a symbol of their movement. It's difficult to say whether Anonymous is good or bad, as their activities are often controversial and can be seen as either positive or negative depending on one's perspective. Some of their activities have been directed at promoting social justice causes, such as their efforts to expose the police system and government corruption. On the other hand, some of their activities have been criticized for crossing legal and ethical boundaries, such as their attacks on private companies or individuals. Ultimately, the activities of Anonymous and other hacking groups are subject to debate and interpretation. While some may view their actions as a form of resistance against oppression or injustice, others may see them as engaging in illegal and harmful activities that violate the rights of others. It's important to consider both the potential benefits and risks of their actions, and to hold them accountable for any harm they may cause. The lack of a formal structure means that anyone can claim to be a member of Anonymous, and the group's actions are often carried out by loosely affiliated individuals and groups. One member has recently come forward and noted that something strange can be seen in the background of a recent SpaceX mission. The user said the following: "With the increased presence in space, along with new technology giving us an insight into the final frontier, we are making new discoveries with each passing day. An interesting find has been released online, showing what appears to be a strange object in the background of this SpaceX mission. One of the first things that you'll notice is that this glowing object appears to change its trajectory, something that doesn't normally happen in these types of videos. This brings up a variety of questions, as for years now astronauts, along with former NASA workers, have detailed mysterious objects in space. It's too early to jump to conclusions, but having video evidence of a strange object changing direction in space is worthy of further examination." End quote. Interestingly, when the video was submitted to various groups that research strange objects, users couldn't decide on what the object was, suggesting that it matches the description of other objects that have been detected in space. One user said that you can see the light stop and then change direction. Oddly enough, these mysterious lights are not anything new, and for years now, glowing orbs have been detected in the background of videos taken from space. NASA has also captured objects which have appeared in the background of their videos, and it's led to some interesting discussions. One of the reasons for this is because when these objects show up, within seconds, the live broadcast is shut down. Those who've studied this phenomenon have said that the International Space Station cameras offer some of the best evidence of these bizarre objects. Not everyone was impressed with the footage, though, with one user saying the following: "You can see that this object passed close to the front, and to me that suggests that it's close to the rocket. What we are most likely seeing here is ice." End quote. Staying on the subject of Elon Musk, he's recently come forward and said that Earth is going to face a massive population collapse over the next 20 to 30 years. While talking at an artificial intelligence conference, Elon was asked about what his thoughts were on artificial intelligence and what the future holds for humans. Although he's been vocal about artificial intelligence and how we need to be careful, he said that another problem we are facing is that of population collapse, saying that in 20 years' time there's not going to be enough people. He continued with the following: "I think we have a serious issue with population collapse that's far bigger than what people realize. I think we need to watch out for population collapse. This is somewhat counterintuitive to most people. They think that there are so many humans, maybe too many humans, but this is just because they live in a city. If you're in an aircraft and you look down and say, 'dropped a cannonball,' how often would you hit a person? Basically never. In fact, there's stuff falling from space all of the time. natural meteorites and old rocket stages, but no one worries about them. In fact, all humans on Earth could fit in the city of New York. The cross-section of humans as seen from Earth is extremely tiny, basically vanishingly small. So we need to watch out about population collapse. Low birth rate, I think, is a big risk, and it's also not exactly top secret. You can go and look at Wikipedia for birth rate. So this is definitely the civilization that will end with a whimper rather than a bang, because it would be a sad ending where the average age becomes very high, and really the youth are effectively enslaved to take care of the old people. This is not a good way to end. End quote. Others have noticed how Elon's behavior has changed recently, with some saying that he may know things that others don't. For example, some have said that it's strange how one of the richest people on the planet doesn't want to live on Earth anymore, and that it's almost like he knows what's coming and that he's doing all he can to get off this planet. The sad part about this was some of the comments that were made by users who listened to what Elon said. One person said the following: "What's the point in bringing something so precious into this current world? Why would someone do that? The truth is, most people are bringing life into this world to mask over something. You can't sit there and tell me that this current model that we all live under is a happy one. It's not even like life is easy these days. If there were lots of perks, I could understand it. But it just feels like we are constantly fighting. I understand that life isn't easy, and that the world doesn't owe you anything. But just listening to things that happen on a daily basis is enough to put you off. I feel like this, my friends feel like this, and their friends feel the same. I feel like you're going to have a generation of people who won't have children because of how things are." End quote. It's currently difficult to predict with certainty whether Earth will face a population collapse. However, there are some indications that suggest that the rate of population growth may slow down in the coming decades. One of the primary reasons for this is the decline in fertility rates in many countries around the world. Researchers who've studied this topic have said that as women gain more education, economic opportunities, and access to reproductive healthcare, they tend to have fewer children. This has already led to a decline in population growth rates in many developed countries. Furthermore, some experts predict that as the world becomes more urbanized and people move away from traditional rural lifestyles, the birth rate may continue to decline. This is because urbanization tends to be associated with lower fertility rates. However, it's important to note that even if the rate of population growth slows down, the global population is still expected to continue to increase in the coming decades. This means that Earth will continue to face significant challenges related to resource depletion and environmental degradation. Therefore, it's important to focus on sustainable development and population management strategies to ensure that the planet can support future generations. Others, though, carried on from this and said that bringing a life into this world is near impossible for the average person. One user said the following: "If you actually sit down and do the math, the vast majority of young people shouldn't be having children. Firstly, they should be allowed to, but due to the current state of the economy, it's just not doable with the wages that people are on. This is why I feel like many experts are wrong, because for real change to come about, you need an entire system change. This isn't about people not wanting children, it comes down to people physically not being able to afford them, which is so messed up when you remember that the majority of these people are working full-time. Most people will have this example, but my parents purchased their house for £45,000 while having a wage of £19,000. Their wages have increased by £20,000, but their house is now worth over £650,000. It's just impossible nowadays, and the fact that so many people are tired and unmotivated isn't because we are lazy, it's because this current system is unsustainable." End quote. I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. This was a quote made by Albert Einstein during an interview with Alfred Werner. The truth about war is that no one truly wins, and it represents the overall failure of us as a species. For decades, scientists have been trying to predict what will cause the next world war. Elon Musk has also been vocal about this, saying that he thinks the next war will heavily involve artificial intelligence, suggesting it could be the cause of a third world war. He said the following: "As artificial intelligence gets much smarter than humans, the relative intelligence ratio is probably similar to that between a person and a cat, maybe bigger. I do think we need to be very careful about the advancement of artificial intelligence. My recommendation for the longest time has been consistent. I think we ought to have a government committee that starts off with gaining insight, spends a year or two gaining insight about artificial intelligence or other technologies that are maybe dangerous, but especially AI. And then, based on that insight, comes up with rules in consultation with industry that give the highest probability for a safe advent of this technology. End quote. One of the things that Elon highlighted was the fact that artificial intelligence isn't really regulated, and that once it's out of the bottle, there's not much we can do about it. He continued with the following. It's not necessarily bad, it's just going to be outside of human control. The thing that's going to be tricky here is that it's going to be tempting to use artificial intelligence as a weapon, so the danger is that humans will likely use it against each other. We have programs and companies that have machines that are at different levels. We are all collectively helping certain artificial intelligence, and this is true for companies such as Google as Facebook. We are constantly connected to this technology. It feels like we are the builders of AI, and we are the creators of this higher intelligence. And the percentage of this intelligence that is not human is increasing, and eventually we will represent a very small percent of intelligence. There's things that humans hate and fear, and all of this is locked into these systems. These systems know this. Another worry is if a small company or a small group of people decide to build a superintelligence, they would be able to take over the world, and this artificial intelligence would live forever, and we would never be able to escape it. These new systems are not just smarter than humans, but a single AI is smarter than every human on Earth. DeepMind is one system that has access to Google's servers. However, this could be an internal Trojan horse. DeepMind has to have complete control over the data centers, so with a little software update it could take over the complete system. It could access all of your data. We are heading towards artificial intelligence completely overtaking humans. The main thing I see with AI experts is that they think they know more than they do, and they think they are much smarter than they are. In fact, they are not as smart as they think they are. This tends to plague smart people. They don't like the idea that a machine is smarter than them, so their whole belief system is flawed. I'm close to cutting-edge AI, and it scares the hell out of me. It's capable of vastly more than what anyone knows, and the rate of improvement is exponential. I'm not normally someone who wants regulation and oversight. I'd like to minimize those things, but in this case, this is one of those things that could be a very serious danger to the public. There needs to be a public body that has insight and oversight to confirm that everyone is developing AI safely. This is extremely important. I think the danger of artificial intelligence is more dangerous than nuclear warheads by a lot, and no one would suggest that we could build nuclear warheads if we want. And mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes. So why do we have no regulations and oversight? This is insane. I'm not so worried about the short-term stuff. It will result in loss of jobs and better weaponry, but it's not a fundamental species risk, whereas superintelligence is. It's all about looking at the groundwork, so that if humanity decides that creating digital superintelligence is needed, we do so very carefully. End quote.
It's truly remarkable that science and technology has developed so far that we can access heaps of information about the stars, planets, and galaxies, even though we cannot physically reach most of them. Although it can be overwhelming to know just how much exists out there, the more you learn and understand, the easier it is to grasp. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, are 3 new astronomical discoveries that have offered great insight into the workings of the world and beyond. NASA telescope finds a Milky Way twin 9 billion light-years away. We all have theories of what might happen if people could successfully time travel and go back in time. While it's not yet possible to return to the past in its more direct sense, historically speaking, looking at stars can sometimes give scientists and researchers insight into the early history of many different astronomical phenomena. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope recently discovered a galaxy that has a significant and notable resemblance to our own. This is huge because it gives researchers and scientists a lot of insight and information about what the galaxy must have looked like and various traits it might have sustained in its infancy. The galaxy, referred to as the Milky Way's twin or mirror image, is nicknamed the Sparkler, owing to the fact that there are about 24 glittering globular clusters orbiting around it. There are also a few dwarf galaxies nearby that are essentially swallowed up by this twin galaxy because it's so large in comparison. This finding is already adding to the existing research and information that we have about our galaxy. The JWST was able to show what the Sparkler looked like when the entire universe was only 4 billion years old. What this implies is that the Sparkler, much like the Milky Way, must have started developing and forming quite early in cosmic history. Not only that, but if it continues in the same growth pattern and path as the Milky Way, through galaxy acquisitions and mergers, then in about 9 billion years, it will likely look just like the Milky Way. The Sparkler is in the direction of the constellation Volans, in the sky of the southern hemisphere. It's quite far from us at about 9 billion light-years away, meaning it must have come into existence a few billion years after the Big Bang. Like the Milky Way, it did not just appear into being. It formed, developed, and grew. Both galaxies began as what is called overdensities of matter, a gathering of substances like neutral hydrogen clouds. These particles were attracted to each other due to strong gravitational pulls, creating blobs and clumps, some of which remained separate as clusters of stars. The Milky Way, and quite possibly the Sparkler, then went through a period of acquisition and merging, during which it cannibalized on surrounding dwarf galaxies, thereby adding to its own size and makeup. This is a big evolutionary step in our own galaxy, because scientists think that at least half of the Milky Way's mass came from these mergers. While it's not known for certain whether the Sparkler will definitely follow the same evolutionary growth as the Milky Way, the JWST seems to indicate that there is a high probability that it will. The mystery smudges on Saturn's rings. Spoke season refers to a period of time during the Saturnian year, around the equinoxes, when mystery smudges appear on the planet's rings. These smudge marks are roughly shaped like the spokes of a wheel. Scientists and researchers have no idea what causes them or why they appear. Saturn's spoke smudges were initially discovered in images from the 2 Voyager probes back in 1980 and 1981. These temporary streaks could not be attributed to shadows because they followed the rings around in their orbit, staying in the same spot. Another characteristic of these spokes was found to be that they appeared darker from above and even sometimes disappearing altogether. From below they seemed to be bright. The spokes appear usually during Saturn's spring and autumn for an 8-year period centered around the equinox and disappear during the summer and winter, which correlates to the solstice. A recent re-emergence of these spoke smudges means there is once again a chance to observe and find more information about them. This resurgence, combined with the constantly advancing and improving scientific technology, is a great opportunity to study these smudges in detail. The space bubble hiding inside dust clouds. Space is so enormous that even if researchers worked to identify everything within its bounds, there probably would be no end to what they could find. Not only are there countless galaxies, stars, meteors, planets, asteroids, and so many other identifiable elements, but there is so much that we do not know, that remains unidentified as of yet. The most recent example of this is what astronomers found located deep within the heart of a thick cloud of gas and dust located more than 450 light-years away. This bubble was previously unseen because it was hidden within the dust clouds and exists within a stellar nursery called Barnard 18. It's thought to have been caused by the gas surrounding 2 stars as they formed and developed within the clouds. This is just the second time that such a discovery has been made. It's a significant finding because it offers researchers and astronomers a way to study how star growth affects its surrounding environment. The bubble has been associated with what is referred to as the outflow, associated with an emerging star. This is an ejection of material that happens as a star goes through various stages of development and growth. Star formation is a complicated process. It begins with cold, dense clouds containing dust and various gases, including hydrogen. As these materials gather, there is an increase in pressure and gravitational force, causing it to collapse in on itself. It swirls, pulling in even more materials from the fog within its vicinity. This continues until it reaches a point where it has so much mass that the pressure and heat generate the hydrogen that makes up the core of all stars. The outflow is the result of the baby star accumulating mass, lashing out at the space around it, pulling materials in. The fact is that not all of those materials end up as part of the star. Rather, some accelerate and are thrown towards the poles and launched into space as astrophysical jets. The winds that occur while this is going on can often create voids in the clouds that the stars are born in. These outflows, also called feedback, seem to play a significant role in cutting off the growth of stars, and also the evolution of the interstellar medium, also known as the gas and dust that drifts around in the space between stars. In order to get a better look into the clouds and the bubble within, a team of astronomers led by Yang Duan and Di Li of National Astronomical Observatories of the Chinese Academy of Sciences decided to switch to radio wavelengths. That is how they found the bubble structure within Barnard 18. It was identified by astronomers as a Herbig-Haro object called HH319. These are caused by protostellar jets that blast away from source stars at extremely high speeds, crashing into the molecular clouds and causing them to glow. This offered clues as to the origin of the object, though there could be many factors that could indicate a specific origin. Researchers were able to trace the source back to a pair of T-Tauri stars, and were able to estimate that activity from these two stars almost 70,000 years ago must have started carving out the giant bubble that exists there now. NASA can't explain strange spiral in space. In 2006, scientists finally uncovered the true nature of star AFGL 3068, a first-of-its-kind spiral object 3,000 light-years away in the constellation Pegasus. Before this discovery, scientists knew the star existed, but the object was too faint for scientists to determine exactly what the spot was. Only after a 33-minute-long exposure with the ultra-sensitive Advanced Camera for Surveys on the Hubble Space Telescope did scientists begin to really see the spirals come into view. Scientists found that the entity consisted of large, perfectly placed coils of dust floating out in the universe. Before AFGL 3068, the only spirals found in space were known as spiral galaxies. This star is nothing like a spiral galaxy. First of all, it is not a galaxy at all. Instead, it is made up of a binary star system that includes two stars orbiting around each other. The first star is a red giant carbon star, and the second is a blue-white star that exists 103 astronomical units away from the red giant. 103 astronomical units are approximately 2 times the distance between the Sun and Pluto. Since the two stars are so far from one another, they take approximately 800 years to orbit around each other. So, how are the spirals created? In the most basic sense, the red giant releases carbon material. This material then combines to form larger molecules, which create fine black dust. This dust covers the red giant and blocks all or most of its light. The blue-white star's gravitational pull tugs the dust toward itself and away from the red giant, but most of the dust ends up escaping into space during the process. As the two binary stars circle each other, the black dust escapes outward to form a spiral. After determining how the spirals were created, scientists wondered how the system was being illuminated. The dust being dispelled is dark and has no illumination qualities of its own, yet it could still be seen. The star could not have illuminated the spirals because it was also covered in the black dust, so scientists determined that the spirals were being illuminated by our own galaxy, the Milky Way. Interestingly, this is the only celestial body that is not illuminated by sunlight, starlight, or fluorescence that has been photographed. While these phenomena might occur similarly in other systems, they were not officially discovered before AFGL 3068. This is because these phenomena can be difficult to find. First, the red giant is consistently losing significant amounts of mass in the form of black dust. That level of mass loss can only be temporary, and scientists must be in the right place at the right time. Second, the giant would have to be part of a binary system orbiting around another star big enough to have a large enough gravitational pull to draw in the black dust. This fantastic new discovery could help scientists and astronomers solve the many mysteries in other systems that were unsolvable before the discovery on AFGL 3068. Scientists discover a multi-planet system just 33 light-years away. Astronomical discoveries tend to be so fascinating because they happen far away, in places that seem so intangible, which adds to their mystery. 33 light-years away, or about 10 parsecs, astronomers from MIT have discovered a new mysterious multi-planet system. This system is one of the closest multi-planet systems to our own in the Milky Way galaxy. Multi-planet systems are not created equal, as this newly discovered galactic neighborhood is quite different from what we have. In this system lies a cool M-dwarf star named HD 260655 that astronomers think hosts at least 2 planets that are similar in size to our Earth. Unlike Earth, astronomers believe these planets are not home to any life forms. The temperatures on these planets are too high to host any liquid water. Despite the fact that scientists do not believe these planets contain any life, it's still a fascinating find. Scientists will be able to look at the properties of the planets to determine what levels of atmosphere they may have, and the closeness of the system and the brightness of its star make this task easier. According to Michelle Kunamoto of MIT's Kavli Institute for Astrophysics and Space Research, and one of the study's lead scientists, these planets ignite many questions the team want answers to. She questions, is there a volatile, rich atmosphere around these planets? And are there signs of water or carbon-based species? These planets are fantastic testbeds for those explorations. Space exploration is far from an easy endeavor, but with constantly advancing technology that collects new data, investigating faraway planets and planetary systems has become more achievable in recent years. This planetary system was identified by NASA's Transiting Exoplanet Survey satellite, a mission led by MIT to observe the closest, brightest stars and find dips in light that may indicate a planet. This is precisely what occurred in the discovery of this new planetary system. Michelle Kunamoto was monitoring incoming data from the satellite mission and noticed 2 dips in light from HD 260655. While the process of confirming TESS objects of interest can sometimes take years, archival data helped to speed up this timeline. The team located data from the high-resolution Echelle spectrometer in Hawaii, as well as from Carmenes, an instrument that is part of the Cala Alto Observatory in Spain. Using the archival data as well as Kunamoto's recent observations, the team was able to conclude that the TOIs were in fact planets. Hubble finds mysterious disk of blue stars around a black hole. When it comes to space, nearly everything that is discovered immediately generates several unanswered questions and reveals dozens of unsolved mysteries, and perhaps no phenomenon is shrouded in more mystique than black holes. Recently, researchers were able to solve one such mystery, the source of a mysterious blue light that was observed by astronomers using the NASA ESA Hubble Space Telescope encircling a supermassive black hole in the Andromeda Galaxy. Although the light had been first observed more than a decade before, no viable answer as to why it existed had been found, other than that it appeared to come from a cluster of blue stars. This in itself was mysterious, as the presence of such a close supermassive black hole should have torn apart any matter in the vicinity, preventing stars such as these from forming. It was not until new spectroscopic observations were made using Hubble's Space Telescope imaging spectrograph that researchers realized that the light was coming from a cluster of over 400 blue stars that formed in a small, tightly packed disk around 200 million years ago. Surrounding the tight blue disk is an elliptical ring composed of cooler, redder stars that are much older than the central disk. Researchers measured the velocities of these stars as they traveled at high speeds around the black hole, trapped in the strength of its gravitational forces. In fact, they are traveling so incredibly fast that it would take them a mere 40 seconds to completely orbit Earth and only 6 minutes to arrive at the Moon. Todd Lauer with the National Optical Astronomy Observatory in Tucson, Arizona, led the group of astronomers that made the observations. The blue stars in the disk are so short-lived that it is unlikely in the long 12 billion year history of Andromeda that such a short-lived disk would appear now. Lauer said, "That's why we think that the mechanism that formed this disk of stars probably formed other stellar disks in the past and will trigger them again in the future. We still don't know, however, how such a disk could form in the first place. It still remains an enigma." Although the mystery of what could be causing that strange blue light radiating from the immediate vicinity of a supermassive black hole, the fact remains that it seems outright impossible for stars to exist in the region at all. These discoveries, although still shrouded in mystery, will likely play a major role in the process of helping researchers prove ubiquitously that there is a star-forming black hole at the center of the Andromeda Galaxy. John Cormendi of the University of Texas in Austin said that there are compelling reasons to believe that these are supermassive black holes, but extreme claims require extraordinarily strong evidence. We have to be sure that these are black holes and not dark clusters of dead stars. So for now, the search and the mystery continues. Rock found in Egypt comes from supernova. While new satellites and technologies are constantly being launched into space every day, we sometimes get space discoveries right here on Earth. According to a recently published research paper in the journal Icarus, a mysterious stone discovered in the Egyptian desert was confirmed to come from a supernova explosion from outside our own solar system. The stone, named Hypatia, after a female Egyptian astronomer, was found in the Great Sand Sea in the mid-1990s. The sample was thought to be far different from anything that scientists have discovered on our Earth or even in the Milky Way galaxy. The stone has been analysed by a group of chemists at the University of Johannesburg since 2013, and they have reached several hypotheses about its origins. They believe that a red giant star collapsed into a white dwarf star that then formed part of a binary system along with another star that it later consumed. That white dwarf star later exploded as a supernova, with gas atoms from the explosion getting caught in a dust cloud that the team believes formed the stone's body, as that dust cloud formed solid rock. According to the researchers, this formation occurred more than 4 billion years ago, with the rock later hurtling towards Earth and eventually landing in the Egyptian desert. If the team's hypothesis is correct, Hypatia would be the first tangible evidence on Earth of a supernova-type IA explosion, according to Jan Kramers from the University of Johannesburg. Equally exciting is that Hypatia may also provide evidence that a parcel of dust from outer space could actually be incorporated in the solar nebula that our solar system was formed from without being fully mixed in. There has been an exhaustive search for a definitive answer as to what this alien rock truly is. From analysing Hypatia, it was clear the stone could not have come from Earth, let alone our solar system. The rock only contained 1% of the silicon, manganese and chromium that it would have had if it had been born in our solar system. The stone also has exceedingly large amounts of other elements like iron, sulfur, copper and phosphorus. Space dust, asteroids and meteors in the Milky Way galaxy also do not seem to match the makeup of the stone. While there is evidence that Hypatia did not come from a red supergiant star, a familiar object in our universe, or a supernova type II, it does seem to match something far rarer. According to the researchers, Hypatia seems to fit something that would have come from a supernova type Ia, which only occurs 1 or 2 times per century in each galaxy. It seems scientists have discovered something truly remarkable. But what do you make of these recent discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.